Hello, hello, welcome back. Today is a special day. It's Martin Luther King Jr.'s, it's around his birthday. His birthday was January the 15th, and we celebrate it the third Monday every year in the United States because of all the amazing things that he did while he was alive. I'm going to highlight a few facts, and then I've got a suggestion for you at the end. This is going to be short to the point. And we'll get you back to your regular business. So back in the 50s, that's when Martin Luther King Jr. started his activism. He had a relatively humble upbringing. When you look at it, he decided that one of the things he was put on this planet to do was to combat violence. And I'll talk to you a little bit more about that here in a minute. He earned the Nobel Prize in 1964 because he was a leader in the civil rights movement. He was actually a leader in more than that, but that's what we usually attribute him to. And beginning in the 70s, actually beginning in 1970, there were calls for him to have a national holiday. He was that impactful in our world. And so it didn't take until 1983 under Ronald Reagan's administration when he finally got it approved to have a national holiday the third Monday of every January in remembrance of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So those are just some basic facts, just in case you didn't have some of those. But I really want to get into, for a couple of minutes, his philosophy. So he was brought up a Baptist, and you're going to see that come out in his work. If you ever read things about him, if you truly understand what his movement was about, it was not, as we distort today, all about racism. Although racism was one of the more violent categories of social interaction during Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s day. So it's a no-brainer that he spent a lot of his time and focus in that particular category. But it was not his only focus. His big things were nonviolence. He was a huge proponent of nonviolent means of bucking the system, saying, no, we don't have to be violent, because he didn't believe that we would be able to cure violence with violence. That makes sense. He believed that there would be a lasting peace through reconciliation. So you're probably sitting there going, what the heck does that all mean? And if you're not, then more power to you. That's awesome. You're ahead of the game. But the idea is it's not about treating your enemy like the enemy. Like, his philosophy was to treat the enemy no different than your friend. And that changed. I mean, when you think about that, the paradigm shift, it's a phenomenal paradigm shift when we think about our enemy as if they were a friend. So the overarching thing for Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was this concept of agape love. Now, some of you have probably heard me talk about agape love in the past. I didn't make it up. I'm not that smart. I got it from others, people like Dr. King. And, where did he get it from? Truthfully, he got it from his Baptist history. It's the idea of accepting somebody as they are. That's a big deal. So if you're not practicing that, then truthfully, you're not celebrating Dr. King. You're celebrating some other version of Dr. King. And my encouragement to all of you is to consider all three areas that he decided to take on. One was racism, because it was really violence was very prevalent in the racist acts and behaviors in the 50s, the 60s, and even into the 70s and on. But he also combated violence when it came to poverty and war. So if you look at his stuff and you read his stuff and you understand the life of Dr. King a little more than the average person, a little more than some holiday to celebrate, but an actual meaningful life that was lived that had huge impacts in our world. You're going to understand those three things. He was not wanting war. He was not wanting poverty, and he was not wanting racism, because they were all areas where violence was prevalent, not just present, but all over the place prevalent. So, in remembrance of Dr. King, here's what I would ask of you. And this is one of the things that I'm going to do. I'm going to find an area of hate and of violence, and I'm going to be a light. I'm going to be that agape love. I'm going to be that light that says, I accept you as you are. It's okay. I'm not going to tolerate the violence, but I'm also not going to respond to the violence and the hate with more violence and more hate. So find an area and respond with agape love. For those of you who don't know what that is, you can go back and listen to other podcasts that I've done. You can find somebody else who's done podcasts on it. You can read it in a book, get informed. It's a really crucial concept in terms of shifting our world in a positive direction. Thanks for joining us, and have a great day.